We are live. Good morning. Good morning, Mark.
Anna, good morning, darling. How are we?
Not bad, thank you. Good morning, everybody, guys. Thank you for joining us today. It's been a first one in a very, very long time, isn't it, Mark?
Indeed, it is. At least 7 months, I think.
Yeah, before we kick off with the new series and introduction of the series, first of all, want to say, Mark, to you, a absolute huge thank you and well done for doing what you've done for the past 6 or 7 months now? You
7 months,
like a
yeah.
hero of a community for farmers and for the food, aren't you?
Well, it's been an interesting journey, Anna, that's for sure. 7 months away from home, 2 of us in a camper van, touring the country, doing speeches, going to see farmers, looking at food establishments as a whole, and looking at everything what's right or wrong with the food supply of the country. So it's been an interesting journey.
Yeah, it's been a long, long time. I honestly, my hat's off to you, like to be able to achieve that. The determination you must have had, and I know a lot of people are really, really grateful, and we can't really say thank you enough. But determination to be able to put your life on hold, to go traveling for 6-7 months across the country, just to enlighten people on what kind of nonsense is happening in our food system. It's just absolutely amazing. If anybody knows, obviously the food stuff is really close to me. The whole thing that's currently happening in the food industry just outside, because you're looking at this on a bigger scale, don't you? You're looking at this as a whole, what's currently in the system, with the system, or wrong with the system. Yet I was looking at the little things that are in the packages, that kind of thing, which I'm sure going to be covering in the different videos. But Mark, honestly, how did you find it? Now it's over. Now you had a chance to recoup for a bit.
Anna, if I'm quite honest, I would probably say that had it have just been down to me, I would have come home after about 6 weeks because I'd run out of underwear. But I have to say, in defence to my partner Gloria, she was the one who kept it all spinning. I drove us to where we'd got to go. I turned up, did my speech, and I swanned off like a superhero. She kept it all. She was juggling in the background, trying to keep the clothes clean, the bedding done, trying to keep us fed, keep us watered, make the tea, whatever it might be. So I couldn't have done the tour without her. Lots of people have said, "Oh, Mark, you did really well." I've got to be honest. She made my life very easy, so I have to be appreciative of that and thank her very much.
But I do say, behind a great man is a great woman.
And I'd never say that's not the case.
So as it goes, so we've got delay a bit there. Go on.
What I was going to say is, I think the biggest thing what came out of the tour for me, Anna, honestly, was the kindness from other people, because we live in a world at the moment where we're told everything's bad, everything's wrong with it. And we travelled for 7 months. We never, not one single minute did we ever feel threatened, not wanted, that anyone had got a problem with us. People took us into their homes. They fed us. They watered us. There was never any point at all where we didn't have enough money, because people made sure they raised money for us to keep going. It was just all on the work. We absolutely live in a beautiful world of abundance. And unfortunately, a few morons like to spoil it for us.
Yeah. Well, this just shows you, like you said, there's a good people about. There's a good people that are for the cause, because we all in it. Food. We like talking about this, the God's given. We all eat that, don't we? 3 times a day in some instances. But, this is what it is. But, that's good. That's very good. I'm glad you've done this. I'm glad you accomplished what you wanted to. And we're all really grateful for you.
And we took a 40-year-old camper van. We drove it over 10,000 miles. We did 109 speeches. We spoke in front of 20,000 people. And, and it was just brilliant. It's just, I learned so much about me, about, Gloria and I learned so much about each other, obviously being in a confined space. But we didn't have one argument. We just got on with the job in hand. And, and we had time out in there. We had time in Scotland where we were, physically on holiday for a few days, and the same in Somerset. So it was lovely. As we travelled around the country, we did Land's End to John O'Groats, obviously, and it kind of, the tour went a bit like a bowl of spaghetti. It wasn't like it was a nice straight line. We were ping ponging about all over the country, but it was just amazing. And I'm already planning next year.
Amazing. As a first, then, before again we introduce, but as a really question from the preparedness point of view, really, as the subject is the preppers versus farmers, the mindset. Just quickly before we introduce to you guys what the whole series is going to be about. The living in a van in a camper van, right? Because we're currently converting a camper van is off-grid camper van as well. How did you find this? Because there is a lot of people in the preparedness community obviously saying being off-grid and sort of the freedom of living in a van, that kind of thing, and they paint this in a really sort of glorified picture. How was that for you? Because for us to go away, say, a couple of days in a camper van camping is one thing. How did you find this for a very long time? Be it though you have actually had time to get out and obviously, eating outside that. How did you find that? When people say, do you know what, life is off-grid is great in the camper, how did you find it, honestly?
Anna, if I tell you the truth, bear in mind that we was in a VW camper van, so it's not very big to start with. We've got no cooking facilities in it whatsoever. We've got some plastic crate with a mattress on top. So if we wanted to cook, it was outside. So if it was raining, we cooked in the rain. It was as simple as that.
So proper off-grid in there.
Proper off-grid. Now, what I will say, Anna, I remember there was one day we'd done a festival down at Glastonbury, down at Crops Not Shops. And that night we slept on their farm. And I remember getting up on the Sunday morning and laying there. And I said to Gloria, I said, you know what, there's been times in my life I've had the 4-bedroom house, the cars on the drive, everyone's got what they need. And you've got, everything's on fucking finance and, you live in a bullshit world. And I laid there and I said to Gloria, just looking up, we couldn't see anything, only the sky. And I just laid there and I thought, I've got no money in my pocket. I think I had about £37 left in the bank. I've got no money in my pocket. And we'd got 2 Tesco's crates under the bed full of tins of food. And I looked at Gloria and I said, you know what? I've never been so happy in my life.
Yeah.
I felt so rich. I honestly felt so rich having nothing. And I think that had taken a few months for that to kind of play through the system in my head that, and every time we just got down on our luck and we were like, God, if we don't soon get some money or soon get some food, we're going to have a problem. We'll have to go home. Something else came up and, it was just like the universe or God, whatever, was looking after us and it was just bang on the money. So it was good to have the belief. And to be honest, we've only come home now because the tour is finished. We could have stayed on the road and it wouldn't have made any difference. My concern was obviously with the winter coming, it's a whole lot different to sleeping in the camper van than it is sleeping in the summer. So we had the best 7 months. Now it's time to hang up my boots for a little while, my walking boots. And but Anna, some of the places we visited, just mind blowing. We was in the Highlands of Scotland and water's running out of every place you can possibly look at, just water running down from every rock. And then you could be down in Somerset and they haven't had any rain for 6 months. It was bizarre. Bizarre. But I loved it. I really did.
Good. Well, anyway, thank you for doing this. You've obviously accomplished a lot and looking forward for the next year. So, right. So let's get on with the series then. So introducing guys to our new hopefully to be interesting series. The prepper versus the farmer. The truth is not always what we are told to be. Right. That might be giving away some things there, but basically, guys, we really wanted to if you follow us, the chats, we normally chat about different things, and we normally do like to talk quite a lot about it, and we do uncover a lot of things, but we did want to bring out those series that are trying to be a little bit more targeted on specific subjects, don't we? Like kind of tried before, but really with more of looking and finding some truths and misconceptions, aren't we, Mark? Because there seems to be a lot currently happening. A lot of people are awake to the current situation and stuff, but we wanted just to take this just a little bit further in terms of really talking as openly as we can about things that are happening without getting, obviously, ourselves and the channels in trouble. So when we are going to be mentioning certain things, guys, you do have to bear with us because in certain instances we have to code the wording so we don't get in trouble, which we did once before, haven't we, Mark?
I'm actually on a ban on Facebook at the moment.
Yeah. Well, again, yes, the social media and generally powers of be seem to limit the freedom of, expressions and speech. But nonetheless, Right, so today's brief episode is going to be, because it's the first one and it's a brief one, but we're talking about the mindset of the farmer versus the preppers. So, Mark, shall I kick off with a question to you then? So, what
Go
is
on.
the prepping
You know
to
you want
as
to.
a farmer?
Yeah, go for it.
What is a prepping to you as a farmer? What do you see, or what's the first thing that pops in when you hear a prepper? What is prepping to you?
Okay, so I think unlike my assumption here is, Anna, for you, prepping is all about you, and it's all about your food preparation, your food preservation. So for me, very different. So if you've got a farm and you're thinking about having animals on the farm, first thing for me is, have I got enough to get through for the animals? So have I got enough grain? Have I got enough bags of food? Have I got enough straw? Have I got enough hay? If we're going to have bad weather, are the pipes going to freeze? So for me, there's a whole host of things what concern me before me thinking about eating. Now, what I will say on that is I can eat the animals. so I think it changes my shift from where, whilst I do prepping, don't get me wrong, my concern is, have I got enough screws to repair things? Have I got enough nails? You know, if I need to cut that bit of wood, have I got a saw to do it? So I think the prepping side is very different for a farmer because you're thinking about things on a lot grander scale.
Yeah. As you say,
and
because you can then technically eat your animals and breed the animals with the stuff that you have.
Yeah, and things what we put away for the winter. So let's say, for instance, if we've got seed potatoes put away that we're going to plant next spring, if all shit happens, we could eat the potatoes.
Yeah. Sorry.
There's a great story my dad was telling me last night, Anna, and I'd never heard the story before, but apparently when things were bad when he was little, my granddad had planted a row of potatoes, and then within a few days they'd run out of food and hadn't got enough food, so he had to go along and dig the potatoes back up for dinner. So it was like, that's prepping.
Yeah. That is, so basically, as for ourselves, for me as a prepper, for me, of course, because we don't have, well, I have chickens, but I would never consider eating my girls. But if those so far actually going to make through, because considering there's so much been happening, I lost few because of the nonsense that's been happening and with God knows what, really. But anyway, but yes, for me as a prepper is that we rely, as a preparedness, rely on other people when it comes to stocking up the pantry, if you wish, right? We're talking, of course, the growing stuff. For me, it's important. Although I've given that for the winter because I have severely had enough with the weather and stuff that's been happening. But generally, I'm sure come spring I'll pick up again and we go again because, you know, live and learn and you forget and you go again. Determination. So although we try to do this, but again, I only have this on a small scale. So see, for me, growing what I have, the space that I have is very limiting. So am I still as a prepper, very much reliant on the outside. This is what we are, unless you are self-sufficient, which I think is very little preppers in UK that could be self-sufficient. And I mean self-reliant and self-sufficient, because it does take quite a lot to be self-sufficient and self-reliant and still live your day-to-day life. So as I said, still my thing is, yes, relying on, you know, supermarkets to stock up tins. It's unfortunately inevitable. This is what we do. So you do in this way have a little bit of an advantage on your
but then, Anna, what I will say is that a lot of farmers these days, especially commercial farmers, I'm very much on the end of growing vegetables and animals and things, so it's different for me. But if you take a commercial farmer and they grow 100 tons of wheat and, you know, 500 tons of barley and, you know, 1,000 tons of sugar beet, have they got any food preservation at all? I'd probably say no, because, you know, you might chuck a bit of barley into a stew pot maybe, but there's not going to be a lot you can do with, you know, if you look at most farmers grow wheat, barley, sugar beet, oats, maize and rape, what are you really going to do with that? You might feed it to your animals, but you're not going to feed it to yourself. So I do think there's that bridge where farmers have to, I think, in my opinion, go backward to almost being homesteaders rather than farmers, because the commercial farming side, in my opinion, doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, I agree. So welcome, hello guys, you joining. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. But yes, Mark, this is the next thing I was going to say. I think although the farmers have like you said, the stock and the grains and everything else, I think preppers do, majority who are true preppers, knowing how to preserve food and actually do something with it, have a little bit of an advantage above what you guys have. whether it's to do with the mindset that we know how to train ourselves to do that. But to me, with the farmers, I gotta say, right, it's one of those things I compare it to, excuse me if it's too vague of a comparison, but the people, if you drive by, right, and you see people have like orchards in their garden, they've got the fruit trees growing, and they just don't do anything with it. And I'm like, oh my God, why would you not? You have a blessing on your doorstep, do something with it. But people seem to don't. And this is somewhat, I'm potentially comparing this to the farmers. You guys have all of this. Like, why don't you, whatever animals that you have, like, basically send it to abattoir and then like preserve it. You can literally do yourself so much justice by doing this. And the same thing with like making a flour out of whatever you grow and something else. There's so much opportunities there for the farmers to like really be prepared in more way than one. But you just guys not taking this for some reason, or some of you not. I don't know.
One thing I noticed on my travels was how farmers will do anything to grow crops.
Yeah.
And then they sell those crops to lose money, and then the money they've lost, they want to buy food with it. And that was something I had to try and, while we were on the journey, we'd go to farms and they'd say, if we went to a farm, for instance, where they produce quite a lot of stuff, they'd pack us off with a box of goodies to go away with, like milk and butter and eggs and veg and so forth. Then you go to another one and, they couldn't give you anything because they don't actually produce any food.
No.
So I think there's a big difference in between kind of farming and farmers, and I think that's one of the things which is going to have to be addressed in the future, Anna, because that really intrigued me as we traveled the country, the different mindsets of people. So we went to, I remember going to an organic farm and they had all their own seed stocked away for the next 2 years. They'd got loads of seed. They'd just got an abundance. And then we called at another farm and he was complaining that the seed delivery company hadn't delivered his seed, so he couldn't drill. And I thought, how did farmers allow themselves to get in that position? It's just bizarre.
Yeah. See, what also wondering the question, I always thought, again, farmers, you have the luxury of land, right? And I mean, the land is luxury because it costs a fortune if we ever consider buying a piece of land, which I really, really would love to do. It's just not feasible. For people that just have mortgages and stuff to pay, children, it's just not feasible. But you guys have the most amazing thing. And the question I always wondered, why on earth are farmers, there's probably not a single farmer that I know that is self-sufficient or self-reliant. You have land, you can have your own solar panels, so your farm could be up there, grow your own veg patch for yourself. Like, you could really feed yourself and your family with the land that you have. Even if you just take an acre to grow it for yourself and your family, all of the farmers could be self-sufficient and self-reliant, 90% probably, if they took their step doing this. So why? This is like the prepper mindset to me, be like, come on, guys, come on, take your land, do something with it for yourself, rather than you stay like selling it off and then go and buy the food at the supermarkets. Why are they not doing that? Do you know? I know you do. You had, and you've been growing yourself.
I think, Anna, it's changed, doesn't it? Because 100 years ago, everyone would have done that. Every farm would have also, even if they were a dairy farm, they would have had 2 or 3 sheep and 2 or 3 pigs and a load of chickens, even if their main income was the milk. An arable farm would have had some animals on there for rotation, for fertilizing the ground. And that's just changed. We've cut, and most of that is down to, I hate to say this as a farmer, but it's come down to laziness and it's come down to idleness, because now it's easier to drive a big tractor with a big hopper on the back full of dried fertilizer down a field and, spray that everywhere. And yes, it might have cost you £5,000 to do your land, but so what, rather than looking at a few animals and going, and for me, because, that is my prepping, I suppose, head comes into play there. But as a farmer, for me, if I have animals on the land to put the fertilizer naturally into the ground, I've got the fertilizer for free. I've got the animals still at the end of it to sell or to eat. And I think that's where farming's changed, Anna. And I think that's really what we need to get back to now, is to, for people to now start looking again at what farming practices used to look like. And I think one of the problems, Anna, is, and this comes down to, I think, how the subsidies work in the UK is an issue, because if you look at farmers are paid to produce volume of certain crops.
Mhm.
What about paying farmers to produce nutritional food?
Yeah.
That would be a much better system, and that would encourage farmers to grow proper food. And that's, in my opinion, the difference where we've got on farming to where we are at the moment to where we need to get to. So
yeah. So what do you think? Like the coming back obviously preparedness, because we are obviously farming versus prepping is today's thing. Why farmers? They know exactly what's happening. They know they've been driven out of their jobs by taxes, by buying off land for something else. Anything that we obviously discussed before. Why, if they knowing this is all happening and their staff is at risk, why not many of them become a preppers in the true way and just take the control, at least of their own life? This is what I don't understand. Maybe this is because it's a different mindset to what you think, but your industry is collapsing, not at their own fault, maybe sometimes in certain instances. Why not take this responsibility and just like do this like prepping farming community, just to make sure that at least the farmers have got food to eat if SHTF happens? Why is it not happening?
I think the answer is, Anna, it is happening, but we've had 100 years of the farming industry being pulled to bits. Ever since the First World War, it's been pulled to bits. So we've had 100 years of destroying the farming industry, and we've gone from 1 million farms down to 230,000 farms in that time.
Yeah.
What I think we're going to see in the future is a complete shift change back, but that's going to take time. A lot of the farms we visited, which were the smaller end scale farms, small family farms up to 100 acres, they're starting to put mixed animals back on the farm. They're starting to do mixed crops again, starting to look at, small acreage of veg. I had a classic example. I had a conversation with a friend yesterday, and he's just allocated 3 acres. He's got a 5,000 acre farm. He's just allocated his first 3 acres into growing veg, all by hand, no equipment. So the farmers are on the transition, but there's no money available to make the transition. DEFRA isn't making the money available, which they should be. So, but I think what we are seeing is a shift of. Here's what I see, Anna. We've got commercial farmers, then we've kind of got small middle farmers, then we've got preppers, and what we need to do is eradicate the large farmers off the end there and put together kind of the small prepping farmers. And that's where the future of food, I think, lives, is in that pocket of the small family farms and the preppers kind of coming together. Because as a farmer, if I produce in the summer, let's say 5 ton of apples, I don't know what to do with 5 ton of apples, but I know that I can feed them to the pigs, but it's not a good use of food. No. But I know if I came to you and you put a video out saying there's free apples for everyone who wants to to do this, then that is an easy option for people to stockpile a lot of food across the country. And that's where farmers and preppers are not working together, I feel, at the moment, and there could be a lot more done on that side.
But see, I think again it's the misconception, isn't it? To what obviously we know. You can tell us what's a lot of misconceptions about the farmers, but we know there are a lot of misconceptions of what the preppers are. Again, it's still tainted. However, try the channels in UK trying to reportray what the prepping is about. The American influence, they seem to still overtake the precedence of the preparedness to many people, because at times and times, obviously, Americans all go now and still the same concepts as time and time again. It's just exhausting to watch the same thing as preparedness and think this is not what it is true preparedness means for the people in UK. It's just not. People do need to understand they're different countries and different things. So the perception of the preparedness community, even maybe to the farmers, it's not the true representation what the true preppers really are. The true preppers are the people that don't even call themselves preppers. They're just preppers that do stuff behind the scene, head down, make sure you've got food, grow food, preserve food, obviously stash food, whatever else, self-defense, whatever that you do, this is just formality. But again, at the same time, there's a misconception about the farmers. And I'm sure you would like to tell us, because some of them are really, really annoying misconceptions, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting my classic is that everyone, I speak to who's not a non-farmer understands that every farmer has thousands of acres and that they all drive brand new Range Rovers. I think in my whole tour, I met 2 of those. One who was, but in fairness to him, he didn't earn any money out of his farm. He also owned a company that did like groundworks and had diggers and excavators and things like that. And that was where he, through his life, had earned all his money and that allowed him to run his passion, which was to keep and build the family farm. So he's built the family farm up from, you know, a few hundred acres to 3,000 acres, and that's all been done as a result of his other business. But people looking on assume he's a rich farmer with loads of land and loads of, you know, and he's got this brand new car, and he says, you know, well, I have got a brand new Range Rover, but it's bought out of the commercial arm. It's not bought out of the farm, you know. So, you know, so, and I think that people's perception, Anna, is that a lot of farmers own their land. A lot of them don't. They're tenant farmers. There's very few people in the country actually own their own land.
Yeah.
You know, so I think they're the two biggest perceptions, and it always intrigues me where people get this from, and it must be that it's just something bounded about by the press, and, you know,
potentially.
Potentially.
Sorry guys, somebody said about my microphone. I'm not my normal mic that I use for video doesn't seem to be not compatible with the live stream. So I'm trying to talk a bit louder, but unfortunately it's nothing. Seems to be nothing I can do with that. So I'll try to talk a bit loud. So I do apologize. Sorry guys. But all right, sorry, Mark. The next question again. There is, I don't know whether there's a misconception or not, but again, that's what we're here for. A lot of people think, obviously, if the farmers go back to, you know, all farmers go back to the farming, you know, we all sort of say, pretend we are like, you know, in the working, I'm going to say working country, the country that's not currently broken, right? If all the farmers farm, can we, as a country, can we be self-sufficient? Can we feed the nation with the farmers that we have? And currently, if all the farmers grew what they grow, can we feed the nation? Do you think? Or can we feed the country, basically?
Yes, if we were given time. Now, don't get me wrong, you wouldn't have pineapples and you wouldn't have bananas and you wouldn't have probably citrus fruit. However, there's lots of stuff we can grow, especially throughout the winter, but we don't, because we don't have the proper infrastructure. So if we had the appropriate funding to be able to fund greenhouses, big greenhouses, for instance, or big polytunnels, then you could grow citrus fruit in this country. We know that 100 years ago, Victorian times, they had orangeries on big houses. They grew oranges, lemons, pineapples. So it is possible. What we don't have is the infrastructure. So, but this is where people's belief, again, Anna, is that we're always going to import food. And we're not. Very much part of the agenda is not to import any food. And it's not to import anything. And, you know, if people get into their mindset that, you know, let's look at what we import for farming, Anna, because this is important. So
that was the next question. How farming is now reliant on the imports? Probably more than
so
unfortunately.
Well, let's look at on a commercial farm. Let's look at that. Not someone like myself, more a commercial farm. All their fertilizer comes in from overseas. It's a pharmaceutical. It's made from the petro industry. So that all comes in from overseas, from refineries. All of the equipment, what they buy. There's no one in the UK makes farm equipment anymore. You know, you're looking at John Deere's American, you know, German, Honda. You've got New Holland. You've got that. It's all imported on mass scale. So without imports, we can't farm the commercial style of farming. Now, I don't think the commercial style of farming is the way to go anyway.
So we're buggered.
Yeah, but could we produce enough food on small scale farming? Yes, we could easily if we had enough people back into farming. And that comes down to the fact that the population needs to get involved. I think, personally, they need to get involved in knowing where their food comes from, which I'm sure is your next question, because most people have no idea where food comes from anymore. And they go, you know,
it is, yes, that was one of my questions, yes.
You know, you talk to kids and you say, where does chicken drumsticks come from? Tesco's or, you know, Sainsbury's. They don't have a clue that it potentially could come from a chicken, let's say that.
Before you go back to that one, hold on. Just quickly finish with the farming. So technically, right, because I myself think, obviously we are pro-farming, you know, farmers need to obviously get their assets and get on with it. But technically, there's many things currently happening that obviously the imports, and I've covered this before in some videos, where the imports could be under threat because of the current conflicts, whatever, or the government just decides to make up a reason where imports will be under threat. So technically, the farming industry be absolutely wouldn't if, like, suddenly you can't import fertilizer, right? Can't import the machinery or repair the machinery because there's no spare parts. Then what the hell then? what just it just all comes to the halt. What happens? So, like, I don't know, because I know farmers are always going on about the fertilizer. You know, you need fertilizer on your land. Could you grow without bloody fertilizer? What's going to happen if you just seed a lot of stuff? Can you just grow without? Can you grow without all this stuff and sludge, human shit, and all that they put on it? Can you just stuff grow without it?
Yes, given time, but not in a hurry.
Right.
And what I would say, because, and the reason I say that is because if you don't put nitrogen on a field, you'll get 50% less crop.
Right.
And if you don't put it on a second year, you'll get another drop of 50%.
Right.
And a third year, another drop of 50%. So within 4 years, you'll have nothing growing. Right. So, but on the same side as that, if you put animals on there to graze every winter, or put things on there like field beans, for instance, which put natural nitrogen back in, legumes, then you can put natural nitrogen back in. And that's what farmers are going to have to start thinking about. Right. That transition.
Is that possible to do, like, you know, they say the crop rotation, rather than just planting a massive field of one thing? If you divide the field into 6 different squares, right, to grow for smaller communities, like people suggesting, like, it should be happening everywhere, right? Again, we're in rural Wales. Do we have a farm shop here? No. We had one, but guess what? He was buying stuff from Costco, buying the vegetables in bulk, separating them and selling them loose like it's local produce. Like, don't need to be bloody Einstein to work out that pineapple, local pineapple, not really. But again, comes down to people not understanding where the food comes from, which we'll come back to that in a minute. But if they done this, would the land not regenerate itself over the few years if nothing is grown on it? Would it regenerate?
No.
Not at all?
No. No, you can let it rest. You can let it rest so it doesn't get any worse. And your things like your grasses and a lot of your plantains, and that's one of the reasons they're now putting a lot of grass and or grass-based products back on farms, and they leave it for soaking up carbon credits.
Yeah.
but actually what they're doing is allowing the natural nitrogen to go back into the soil, which is what obviously the aim of the game. They're using it as we're capturing carbon and putting it in the ground. That's true, but carbon isn't the issue, nitrogen is. So you can change that really quickly. 1 year, put animals back on it. Simple as. Put a cover crop of something like turnips on, what's really rich in nitrogen. Then put the sheep on to graze them off. Sheep get fed, you get nice sheep, and you get lots of sheep poo. Yeah. Everyone wins.
Yeah.
And it is that simple. And then in the spring, just, if you've got nice, good quality soil, because here's one of the problems, Anna. You see lots of farmers dragging massive ploughs downfield, huge cultivators, big sets of rolls. And that's all because the soil's dead. Yeah. And it's clay. It's all stuck together. They've got to get that destroyed back to soft material again. Now, if you've got lots of organic matter in your soil, it's automatically soft. It's nice and sandy. Yeah. So, that's where farmers have got to make the change, because otherwise no one's going to be prepping in the future.
Yeah. I see somebody said there, just we own your land. I know it sounds more like a disgusting thing, but I've grown up in a different country, literally in the country. And my grandma used to do that. So we didn't have the inside amenities. So if you needed a tinkle, you have to do this in a bucket and take it outside. She used to dilute that with water because it's good for our strawberries. Good for the plants. But apparently it's actually a thing. Apparently
100%.
Diluted in there. Apparently it's really good for the plants. So something.
It's rich in vitamins and minerals.
Yeah. It's crazy though. But again, bodies produce what we need to produce then. The food, isn't it? So it's mad. But anyway, so come back to the food, the people misconceptions and a lot of people about people not understanding the food. And I gotta say, right, not say angers me is a strong word, but when we talk about people and we say to people, go to the farm shops as much as possible, buy the local produce. And obviously this is the whole idea. If you've got one, go and buy it. And then people say, oh, yeah, I buy all of the stuff there. I buy my bananas from there, like pineapples. It's but this is not the point. They buy local from farmers, but buy the local produce, not just because they're selling this to fill the gaps. And the people seem to sometimes, not all the time, I do give credit to a lot of people that don't understand that. But there are a lot of people that don't understand that the stuff, some people think that whatever you buy in the farm shop is local produce, including the bananas, pineapples, coconuts, whatever else. Even the tomatoes in the middle of December. And people, oh yeah, but I farm. I buy all my food at the farm shop. That's brilliant. But you still know that you're still basically feeding the arm of the Tesco or Booker's or Costco indirectly anyway. So if you truly really want to support, then ask what's local grown there and then buy that. But then of course another level of excuse me, of people not knowing where the food comes from is like you're saying, people just don't understand where the food comes from generally in terms of what's, like you say, in the supermarkets.
Yeah, and I think that comes down to education, Anna. And I think, again, you know, whether coming from the farm side or the prepping side, preppers tend to have a lot of knowledge, I have to say, about how to store food, preserve food, keep food, look after food, whether that's burying it in the ground, whether that's jarring it, bottling it, whatever. I don't think farmers have that knowledge. What farmers have the knowledge is to bring lots of food to the table at certain times of year. Yeah. And I genuinely think we need to find a solution to bringing those two together, because when I see the amount of food waste on farm, it's scary.
Yeah. Why don't they let them go? Because I know it's called Gleaming. There's the website, right? And they arrange local, but not very local. Basically, volunteers. They go to the field that's been told by farmer that Tesco is not taking their produce because it's too small, too big, too hollow, too yellow, too white, whatever's the problem with the fruit, vegetables. And they say, okay, we'll take the rest, go and glean the field, and then take it to your local community. We've got couple around, and people can donate their local trees. Like if you have an apple tree or orchard, you can let them know, and then a bunch of people come in, like anybody could volunteer, take the stuff and give this away. Why is it not happening again? Because only few farmers are registered, because I think only few people are aware of that. Again, why don't the farmers just go public, say you've got a field, right? Go there, say, look, I've got a field full of carrots, apples, cabbages, whatever, and then say people just come and take it, but have like an honesty box, donation box. People can just come and take, but make it, because I would drive, say, if I don't know, whatever, if I need to drive half an hour, and there's a farm that's got like tons of apples, for example, I will drive half an hour. I drive for an hour, and I'll pay the farmer, donate some money, and I take the stuff and I make as much as possible to make preserve the food, and then pass it on either to community or whatever else. Many people will do that without even having like central company organizing that, because I know there are like a paperwork and stuff when you physically organize in the community. But if farmer says, look, field up there, bloody go and take it. Just take it. But you'll be probably surprised. You'll actually get money for it. People will pay money. People will donate money.
They will. The problem is, Anna, that most of the supermarkets, if the farmer's got a supermarket contract, they'll be tied into the contract that states they cannot allow people to glean.
Why not?
If that's in their contract, that when Tesco's take what they want off the field, anything what fits the contract criteria, broccoli at this size, beautiful green, whatever it might be, there will be a clause in there that states they cannot allow the public to have what's left.
I almost gonna say that's a lot of like shite. That's horrendous. It's
well, it might be horrendous, but that's how they keep their price what it is. See, if a farmer starts giving stuff away, what's going to happen? People then don't go to the supermarket and buy it, so their profits go down.
In local area, locally. But some people will still go, because some people can't be asked to get off their asses and go and pick some fruit and vegetables, you know?
But this is just, Anna, this is just how farmers are squeezed. I'll give you a classic example, right, of how things can change in contracts. We covered lots and lots and lots of times between the pair of us about Bovia.
Yeah.
And Bovia is definitely 100% sneaking its way back into the milk supply chain without any doubt at all. And what they've done is every time you probably heard the other day that the base price for milk dropped 8 pence.
Right. No,
when it dropped, okay, well, they dropped the price of what farmers get paid by Arla and Muller and so forth by 8p.
Yeah.
And within that, what they also did was gave them a new contract.
Right.
And in the contract, it states now that they are legally held under a gagging order, that they cannot discuss what's going in their feed as of next year.
Yeah, but they can't, because if they can't discuss that, people will just like, because it's obviously with the Bovia things when it happened, a lot of people kicked off. People already knew who was part of the who's not. I already got the list on my website with the whole list of all the farmers.
No. But Anna, the point is they will not be able to answer the question in the future. Even those who are not giving it, if they're under contract, will not be allowed to state what they're giving them.
So this is their way of basically saying, whoever you don't know, so people are just going to be stopping drinking milk.
Yep.
The people that are bothered by it, because again, it's all gone really, really quiet. Really quite to what I haven't seen what you said, but obviously I have to do a research, maybe do a video on it to make people aware. But that's ridiculous. This is again the part that I'm fighting with, not fighting with, but when I do the videos, it bothers the hell out of me. Is the lack of transparency. I want to know. I don't care whether you think it's safe or not. I don't care if people think it's maybe safe because somebody told them it's safe. I don't care. All I care about, I want to have a choice. I want the transparency so I can make a choice. So other people can make a choice, whether they want it or not. If I think, okay, maybe it's safe for people, maybe, you know, they've done a lot of research. But if as a person, it's my choice not to have this out of my choice, then I just want to know. I just want to know. And that, to me, I think if that's really true, and it's going to be happening, and especially if we do a couple of videos to people actually make people aware, people probably boycott milk. I know it's going to really upset farmers, though. That's the trouble.
And that's what they want. They want us to give up milk. We know that because Arla makes all of the coconut milk in the country. It makes all of the oat milk in the country, all of the bloody other rubbish, almond milk and everything else.
Yeah.
And what do people really want? Raw milk. Try and buy it. It's like finding rocking horse shit.
Yeah. It is actually horrendous, but it's like we already kind of talked about it. All the big corporations doing stuff, and it's like they're doing stuff deliberately for the forefront to take your mind up, and then a lot of worse things happened behind the scenes for people not to be aware. Because if you haven't said that, might have not seen the facts and then been none the wiser about the milk situation. But the thing is, the milk, I used to get the what do you call it? Oh my god, the one with the cow. I'm so sorry. The one that's a yellow top bottle. Oh my goodness, I do apologize. Anyway, it's like gone up to like £3 for like a litre. I'm like, whoa, hold on a minute. That's like horrendous. I can't afford to pay that. Although it's nice, but I make a lot of homemade yogurt, and it's just not.
I don't. Oh, you've gone quiet, Anna.
Not cost effective. I'm still there.
You've frozen.
Sorry.
You back in the room?
I'm back in the room. Sorry, I'm going there, but yeah. So that's not cost effective. So I now found the Welsh one, the Welsh milk that's local, that is affordable at price, and so far it is free from the Bourville. But it is horrendous, and I really don't know what's going to be happening to that. But that's rather interesting, though.
Anna, someone's just put a comment in there. And let's just cover that. Someone's made a point there of, well, I'll keep drinking organic milk.
Oh, that's no different. Goodness.
It's no different. So let's just cover this, because what they're doing is they've stated that Bovia is not a chemical. So if it's not a chemical, it's only a natural product.
It's allowed, yeah.
It's allowed. So they can give it, and that isn't the issue. You know, the problem is them having it to start with, and we've got to kick back against it big time.
Yeah. Sandy was talking about the organic. I suggest you guys watch Is Organic a Lie? I've done a video on organic as a whole organic, what organic truly means in this country. Please have a look, because again, it's all just smoke and mirrors. It's just there to get extra money from people based on lies, literally. And I see, sorry, someone said gold top milk. I remember it is a Jersey milk. Jersey milk. They Asda and Tesco's do it. But it's like, as I said, almost £3 for a bottle, and it's got the gold top on there. So right, okay. So we covered this then. So we talked about the people and where the food's coming from. I mean, one thing was that what would happen, right, and how quickly, if obviously the farming industry is very much not say broken, but it's not really fixed, is it? Let's call it that way. Even if the farmers who have left, if we all stopped, if the farmers stopped for say a week or a month, what's going to happen? What do you reckon? Is it going to be a chaos, or generally, if everybody collectively just said we are stopping, and I mean like just hang your boots and just not do anything apart from feed your animals, what do you happen? Do you reckon the world will collapse? or the country will collapse.
Well, the world would collapse and the country would collapse. We know that pre-pandemic, there was 67% more food in the supermarket supply chain than there is now.
Yeah.
And it lasted 3 days. So if you take away that supply, that it'll be gone within a day. So on the 30 days to September. Okay, the 31st this month, Halloween, there is massive walkouts, should we say, strikes within the farming industry right across Europe, including the UK, where they're doing go slows, they're blocking the ports, they're literally going to go to town on all of this. And I think what's going to happen from what I've seen and heard, Anna, is the fact that we have two issues to deal with. One, the government aren't listening.
Yeah.
And two, the public don't believe it'll ever happen.
Right. Is it to do with the same with the tax? Is that what they're still protesting?
This is to do with all of it, because tax, the IHT is one tiny part of it, Anna. Yeah. One tiny part of the crisis which farming's in at the moment. Yeah. And when you understand how bad it's got, then you can start to work out how far farmers are going to have to be prepared to go to change things. See, in my opinion, and I hate to say this, but none of this is going to end very well without some kind of bloodshed. And I don't mean from the point of people going out on the street with guns. This is going to end up with no food on the streets, so there will be bloodshed as a result of that. And that's where we're going to get to before people realise just how fragile our little country is. And you've only got to look at this from a point. If we take farmers at the moment are losing money on every solitary thing they produce. Okay? Yeah. Wheat, barley, sugar beet, oats, maize, rapeseed, whatever it might be. If they're supplying into the supermarket supply chain, they're not earning anything. Supermarkets or the big mills, the big producers have got them bent over some barrels so far that they can see the sun shining out of their backsides.
Yeah.
So unless that changes, and the only way that's going to change is for farmers to take away that supply.
Yeah.
And this is what I say. Farmers need the money coming in what they've got at the moment. So what I think we're going to see is farmers transitioning slowly across to a new system where they grow food on the farm that they sell direct to the public. And that's where we need to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, no, just so the question is about the Graham's milk, the Jersey one. Is a boiler free? Yes, apparently, as last time inquired, that's what I've been buying. It is free of, but for now.
For now.
Yeah. But no, it's horrendous, really. I know we slightly digressed, as we normally do, but again, the subject is all about the farming versus the preparedness, and it seemed to be.
I mean, Anna, can I ask you a question now? Because obviously,
of course, that's the idea.
Like, one thing which always entertains me, because my mum is, I would put my mum not on a prepper, kind of on a prepper, but she likes to do her own jams and things like that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that always intrigues me is, if I was to go down the fields like I did when I was here last time, pick loads of blackberries and things for mum, and she'd turn them into jam. Lovely. There's always a requirement for, and I say, coming from a farming point of view, I make sure I've got enough straw, enough bales, enough hay, enough food. From your side, what is it you're looking to put away? Because obviously I understand jam jars, but I'm assuming there's slightly more to it from a proper prepping point of view. So what would you, if you were advising anybody from a prepping point of view, what would that look like? Because
you talk about the food, Mark. Talking about the food or outside the food.
Sorry?
Are you talking about the food or the outside food?
Well, either or, to be honest, because to have food for the future, you need the raw ingredient, but you also need the jars, the vinegars, the sugars, everything else what needs to go with it. So from your side, what do you have, that you would say anyone thinking about prepping like me would have to organise?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the food, it goes without saying, food and water. And then obviously water purification, but this is a bit more of a, it depends, of course, what you prepare it for. If we're talking about the food specific and the self-reliance, then it's the equipment. The equipment is the key. See, the jars, absolutely. See, before, I've got the pressure canner, one of those, not the American version because they're really expensive, but I bought one of Amazon. And originally I bought this as a point of, I wanted to have this. I wasn't really not so interested. I didn't really have time per se of doing this. But my point was, if I get it, if things get tough, I've started doing this. But of course, the common sense is to start to learn what you're doing before, so you know what you're doing when you if emergency happens, you already know, so you have to practice what you do. And generally, again, as a prepper, looking for to, you know, with the potential of the digital currency, everything is coming the way, what you allowed or not allowed or be controlled. So if they are generous for us not to eat or preserve food, there will be limitations where the digital currency come in, or digital ID, what you allowed or not allowed to buy. So for me, and I've done this, covered this like about 2 years ago, is talking to people, telling people to stock up on equipment. See, again, so the pressure can, I've got one, of course I know how to use it now, a pressure can, a water bath can. The jars are a little bit harder because, well, the lids are harder because the lids are always single use, and for some reason now they're sabotaging the lids. Even the decent brand lids, I had to pull out some from my stock. They've gone rusty. I would not trust a rusty lid, especially the one that's rusted to the inside. This is, we're talking about something being in storage for a year and a half. Okay, yeah. I wouldn't trust the food because the rust particles go in there, but that's hard. But yes, of course, jars and lids. And now I'm concentrating on really is keeping the jars from the supermarkets, from the products, if there's anything people give you, because the lids seem to be far more susceptible to not to rust. Okay, yeah. You won't pressure can though, but you could. Some do work, but the water bath can. So, but basically, so we're talking about the jars equipment. The distiller, got one. You know, I don't use this, but again, this is something for me as a prepper to go forward for many reasons than one. We're talking about the water purification. You can distill. Yes, you need fuel. Again, this is one of the things you have to stockpile because with the distiller, you can basically make medicines. You can make oils for the health, for the salves, for whatever, for consumption. You can do other things that, you know, benefit people that are addicted to certain, you know, drink. You can obviously make drinks if you have to. It's not legal to distill here in UK. But if we're talking about the world collapsing, then you can distill what you need, right? It's a barter item. So fuel, of course, it's absolute must, is to ability to cook food. And I know there's like a lot of people, and it's like, oh yeah, there's a preparedness, you know, you can cook stuff with the twigs, and you know, you only just need one of those little cans and you're sorted. Not unless you just buy an forest by yourself. You have family, majority of people do. Some people have family of 3-4 kids. Good luck standing there cooking with the twigs and a bleeding killie kettle a meal for children. It's just not. People got to think ahead and a bit of better way. So barbecues, right? Any way you can cook, right? I bought one and I showed a little portable barbecue from Asda on clearance in the summer for like £7, and you can either use a coal or wood. Okay, the gas barbecue, and again, stock up on the gas. Yes, you have to pay for the big canisters, you know, because they're like contracted, aren't they? But have that. I have wood, I have coal. Again, it takes time to build this up, but said last year they were clearing up the bamboo coal thing for barbecue for bag from like £5 or £6. So all of that stuff will guarantee me be able to cook food in comfort, give or take. Right, the gas canisters for the hobs, you know, where there's little camping stoves. I've got one, I want to buy another one, but I've been stocking up on the canisters. Like last year I bought like 24 packs because they're like pound a canister, they last 2 hours approximately. One. Okay, so £1 a canister for 2 hours, that's pretty damn good for cooking food, because we're talking about, we're not going to be cooking roast dinner if the world's collapsing out there.
Sure.
Or, you know, you do yourself, you do, but do you see what I'm saying? You need that as the main thing. Preserving food's good, but you need to be able to get your food warmed up and prepared, right? Things like garden equipment. You got to have garden stuff, because if you grow stuff, of course you need to have seeds, collect yourself, if you buy them, but nonetheless the point is to get you started, you have to buy them if you've never done this before, unless somebody can give it to you. Plant pots, all the, you know, the hand tools like the spades, the shovels, everything, all of that, they will be in need when things happen. So it's to this as a general preparedness. It's more than just food. If you're wanting to grow your own food, then of course you got to know how to preserve this and what to deal with that. And then the equipment, dehydrator, that's a really good thing. Dehydrator, it's one of the, I don't know, probably the cheapest things you can buy. They're really gonna have quite an impact on your preparedness, because if say you go foraging for beta mushrooms or blackberries or whatever else you can find, you can dehydrate that properly, put it in a Milo bag, oxygen absorber, you're sorted for many years. providing you do this properly. Yes, of course, again, it's hard to survive on the berries and mushrooms, but mushrooms got pretty much more protein than steak. So you're already covering yourself, you know, the nutritional value of certain things very cheaply. Again, I mentioned to people the I know it's on a different channel, but basically there's an app called Olio, right, where the people collect surplus like food from like supermarkets and stuff, and quite often they'll have like crates and crates of like broccolis. Yes, I get it, not the best in terms of, you know, nutritional value sat there, but the point is, if we're talking about the free way of filling up your pantry, request that you can dehydrate this, you've got food. Because at the end of the day, however shit the food is in the supermarkets, however it's lacking anything or everything, that food is better than no food, right? So
Yeah,
anything is better than nothing. So the equipment, books, and the knowledge, rather than people spending their time scrolling through endless amount of things, whatever, learn things. Because as I said, like perfect example with the canning is good. Like my original thought was to have it and then deal with it when I need it. I'll deal with this. But when I need this, I have no help online potentially to teach me how to do it, or no book. So you have to do this and know this now. And God forbid you know, comes to emergency, at least you know what to do rather than that. So yeah, equipment, things, just things. And then normally I'll come to the age of things really annoying. Like I don't like to have too many things. I'm going to a stage I feel like, whoa, but the prepping part is one of those things you need to have things. And I mean, you have to. So, in the food.
It's one of the things which I noticed while we were away. One of the things, because obviously while we were on the road for 7 months, I got quite good at finding things. So, like mushrooms, for instance, I got to know lots of the mushrooms. I got to know, you know, the different fruits, where they would be, what leaves we could eat, what grasses. It's surprising what is out there, like, you know, that people don't know and don't understand. You know, we were quite blessed that we both know a little bit, but while we were on the road, lots of people taught us lots of things, like, you know, just different things what you can use to make teas and things like this. We was in Scotland. We stayed with a lovely lady called Fiona, and they call her the she calls herself, I can't remember now, the bloody the hedgerow witch, I think she calls herself. Okay. And she just goes at picking everything, you know, all the berries and, you know, even ones what we thought were harmful to us. She's like, oh no, you can make tea out of that, and you can make, you know, body creams out of this, and it was just fantastic. I watched a great one the other day about conkers, cutting conkers into 4 bits, soak them in water, leave it for 48 hours, then tip the water out, and you use that for cleaning your clothes. And I was like, wow. And lots of people, after I put it online, everyone was going, oh yeah, I do that. I was like, really? How did I not know about this?
You can do that with ivy as well. But see, with the foraging, I've got a little bit, again, not so irritating thing, but the information that people feed people sometimes, or people assumptions of, you know, the foraging. Foraging is, you have to have a proper knowledge to understand what you can do. My knowledge is limited to the mushrooms and certain berries, strictly. I know nothing about the stuff that grows as weeds on the floor, apart from the dandelions, maybe a couple of other things. But misconception is, again, people say, oh, if the you know, what's collapsed in the stage of, I'm just going to leave off the forage stuff. Yeah, so would the million other people that know how to do it. The trouble is, again, the question is, have you ever tried live just on a foraged food? How full your tummy would be when you're just eating dandelion leaves and potentially a couple of berries? Not very. And I know it's glorified. You know, people can live. Foraging is great, but only as a substitute to something else. You would never ever survive on foraging in a forest if you don't have preservation meat, anything else. You would never be able to lead or eat sufficient enough or healthily enough.
No. I think where the foraging does come in, Anna, is from a prepping point of view. Foraging's great at certain times of year when there's lots of sloes or lots of apples or lots of berries on the trees. That's when it's really good. And I think, you know, I know we're back in Suffolk at the minute, so I know where we are at the moment. I know all the places what large amounts of mushrooms grow. So it's okay to go and get a large amount, do something with it. But that's one of the challenges, isn't it? When you're in a different environment, knowing what's where. And you could walk past something and not know it's there. So, yeah, I think the foraging is something that needs developing.
Yeah, but there are, I think there's some legislations now being brought up in certain parks that you're not allowed, legally not allowed to forage, because apparently you're taking the food away from birds and all that, or something. It was in certain places. I've read this and I'm like, oh my God, are you going to tell me I can't eat a freaking weed because Because what? Seriously? This is kind of level of control we're heading to. You can't pick
Yes,
a dandelion
I think we both understand that's only about control.
Yeah, obviously. But it's but yeah. Anyway, as any other questions for me as a preparedness? Shall we ask you guys, because we're coming on to an hour. Anybody got any questions for myself or the Mark regarding prepping, regarding farming, anything you guys want? Just drop it.
It's interesting that Jess has put on there about Nestle stock leaves, growing next to nettles and things. That's one of the things which are also really good for producing nitrogen for plants.
What was it? Sorry, you crackled then. Sorry.
Jess has put on there about nettles and dock leaves and things.
Oh yeah.
Whilst we know we can make teas and things out of nettles, they're also really good for making nitrogen to grow plants with. Right. So just put them in an onion sack, put them in a water butt, leave it for 6 weeks, take it out, and put it in an onion sack, and it keeps all the bits and bobs together. Take it out and water that down about 10-1, and that will give you the best nitrogen your plants have ever had. Really easy and free to make.
Yeah. See, again, spreading this kind of awareness on things, because although I feel like I know a lot about the growing, although I had a really rubbish year apart from the tomatoes, like 50 kilos of tomatoes. I was really, really chuffed. But there's like 6 or 7 months of really hardcore growing and looking after the seedlings and stuff. Everything else was a bit atrocious. But I don't know what I know people say like a borage I think is good for, I know, not for the for the fertilizer, but some other stuff. I don't really know enough about it. And it's one of those things we need to.
Borage is really good for making fertilizer, nitrogen heavy based nitrogens.
Yeah, I think borage is good for something else as well. But again, the herbal thing, it'll be eventually when I get through this, I'll need to learn a bit more, and again, I'll do some more videos on the basic things, because I know apparently the social media people were basically not allowed too much of spreading, believe this or not, a knowledge about the alternative medicine, right? I've seen numerous amount of people complaining they've been demonetized or been warned or videos removed because all they talked about is the herbal medicine, and then they've been done over because it's not medicine, it's just people saying it's really good for that, because some things are common sense. People know that, this is good for that. It's old fashioned, but apparently people get penalized for that. So
well, I mean, when we were kids, if we were out and about during the day and we used to get indigestion, we'd suck a piece of chalk, because that's what Gaviscon's made of. Chalk, or if we stung ourselves, we knew about a dock leaf. If we got a headache, we knew we could get a milky thistle and squeeze the milk out of it and suck that. All things what we knew then. And, dandelion leaves that you can eat them. And, if you cook the roots, they're good for your heart, for instance. We knew all that. But, Anna, people are just losing this absolute beautiful knowledge of how to stay outside the system. And that's really, really, I think, more important than anything.
Yeah, it's funny that we're talking, again, not so spoiler alert, but really how we're going to go further, obviously, with the channel and stuff, to let people know, you're talking about dandelion's root, good for the heart. Right, there's a specific company that makes a heart medication, right? And this other specific company also makes the very famous weed control that features a dandelion as its thing in the adverts. So if people put 2 and 2 together, this is one company that produces the anti-that, but then it produces the cure for what the plant is meant to cure naturally. Irony, but it's goddamn true.
At its best.
It's horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. If people can see world for what truly is currently happening, and how we are maneuvered and how we
herded
into something without just knowing it, without even understanding this, it's crazy. Anyway, so we'll be uncovering more of those life little secrets in a gentle manner, so we don't get penalized. Anyway, so I don't think there was any questions, so we're all good, I think, aren't we? So that's good. Okay, so yes, obviously, guys, so every Thursday, give or take, unless we have an emergency, we can do this, aren't we, Mark? 10 o'clock for chats, and of course they'll be published then under the live streams on the channel. We can comment then, obviously we'll pick it all up, aren't we? Otherwise, I think, guys, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.